What's going on, everyone? My name is Tim Williams. We're here to talk about tonight's 13-game MLB slate over on DraftKings. Cheers. It's the freaking weekend, baby. A lot going on tonight in my city. Red Sox are back in town. Celtics are going to beat the Heat. Boston calling, all that good stuff. So I'm pretty pumped. And yeah, let's dig in. Let's talk about the slate a little bit tonight. We got some games here on this 13-game slate that are have some weather concerns, this being one of them. Rockies at Nationals, 9 over under, no real favorite here. Gomber taking on Sanchez. Gomber 7.7K, not too into that price here. Don't really like to attack the Nationals in general. Sanchez on the other side, 58% ground ball pitcher. Don't really love attacking ground ball pitchers in general. Rockies bats do look decent. However, they're just a little bit pricey, so I'm going to stay away here. And then on the other side with the Nationals, they are dead last in home runs versus left-handed pitching this season. So I just don't really see the upside. And yeah, on top of the weather, I'm just probably going to fade this one. Next, you have the Orioles taking on the Red Sox. Bradish against Whitlock. Bradish at 6K, 24% strikeout right here, but really, really struggling against right-handed batters. And he gives up a lot of hard contact. So I'm very much in on the Red Sox bats here. Whitlock on the other side, 6.8K. Initially, I was like, oh, that's a decent price. You know, he has K upside, 29% strikeout rate here, but just doesn't really get past 70 to 80 pitches. I just don't see him doing that again today. So I don't really like the upside here. Decent matchup, though. On the Orioles bat side, don't really love their matchup. So yeah, big slate. Don't really need to get to the Orioles. On the other side, you have Martinez at 5K, Story at 5.5, who is absolutely on a tear. Kike at 3.5K. I like them as a mini stack. I like them as a big stack. I think there's a lot of cheap bats in general that you can kind of round out a 5-man stack and get to some decent pitching on the slate. So very much in on the Red Sox here. And it looks like the wind might be blowing out. So things are looking good at Fenway. Next, we have the Yankees taking on the Rays, 7.5 over under here. Rays are favorited here at home. Taillon taking on Springs. Taillon 9.2K. Don't really like the price here. I generally don't like attacking the Rays that often. Taillon only has a 19% strikeout rate here. So for that price, I'd rather just pay up somewhere else. Springs at 6.3K. We know the Yankees like to strike out here. He has a 27% strikeout rate, pitching well so far, but kind of limited around that 80 pitch mark. So I don't really love the upside there. Struggles against lefties. So I really do like Rizzo here at 5K, 321 ISO versus left-handed pitching this season. Judge always in play, having a monster season at 5.6. Torres, seeing a lot of success against left-handed pitching with a 381 ISO there. So I think a mini stack here is in play, full stack if you want to do it. Ray's bullpen does give up a decent amount of home runs. So on the other side with Ray's bats, lefties are in play, but am I really going to get to Kiermaier at 3K? He has been on fire. Brett Phillips, if you need like one cheap guy on the outfield there, 2.6K, but he's going to be hitting in the bottom of the order. Just don't love the Rays today. But yeah, probably just going to fade this one. So next we have the Phillies taking on the Mets. This is another one of those weather games. So closer to lock, you might want to look into that. 8 over under here. Falter taking on Carrasco. Falter 7.3K. Nothing really to write home about here. He's very attackable. So Mets bats could be in play here, barring weather concerns. Carrasco 9.5K. I just don't like the price there. If he was like 8.5, I think I'd be more interested. Phillies have a lot of power in their lineup. Not going to really get to a lot of Phillies here. Harper at 5.8, always in play. Herrera, if you need a cheap bat, I kind of talked about him on yesterday's slate. You know, he got, I think, double-digit fantasy points there, but 246 ISO versus right-handed pitching. You know, he has some power upside, just super cheap. On the other side, with the Mets, Nimmo, my favorite bat at 4.7K, 273 ISO against lefties, who will probably be leading off. Escobar, I think he's a cheap source of power, 262 ISO versus lefties, but the weather, the ballpark prices, I'm not in love with the Mets here, but I think they're very much in play. Next, we have Cleveland taking on Detroit, 7 over under here. There are some weather concerns in this one as well. Cleveland favored it here on the road. Bieber taking on Fado. Bieber 9K. He's going to be very popular. He might be one of the most popular pitchers on the slate. 24% strikeout rate, which is great. The Tigers just really have been struggling. They strike out a lot. So this matchup really looks good for him, struggling versus right-handed batters this season, but Detroit doesn't really have anything that's going to scare me. Baez maybe for some cheap power, but he'll be chalk. I understand it. It's a sweet matchup for him, so don't overthink it. Fado on the other side, 16% strikeout rate here, cheap, but not really wanting to attack Cleveland. I think Ramirez is always in play at 5.3K. I think that's very reasonable. 342 ISO versus righties. Naylor, cheaper source of power here, 3.8K, 290 ISO, two righties. Cleveland bats are going to be popular, at least it looks that way early on against the Tigers. It is a big slate. So if they're going to be that popular and there's weather concerns as well, I might just fade the spot or take Ramirez as like a one-off, and then I'm off the Tigers bats here in this one. It's just too big of a slate. Marlins taking on the Braves here, 9 over under. You have Rogers taking on Anderson. Rogers 7.4K. I think the price is fair. 21% strikeout rate here. Gets a little into trouble here with the walks, 9% walk rate. Braves do strike out a lot. So I like to attack the Atlanta Braves, although they have a very potent lineup. But in this one, I think my lean is toward the Atlanta Bats, especially if they're going to be not as popular in this 13-game slate. Anderson 8.1K. I don't love the price here. Just kind of been mediocre all season. 17% strikeout rate here, 11% walk rate. Gives up a decent amount of power to left-handed batters. Marlins don't really have a lot of left-handed power. Jazz Chisholm, I guess, would be in play, but he's a little too pricey for me at 5.3K. Sanchez, 3.2K. Maybe just a low-owned power flyer, but probably not going to get there. And then on the Braves side, I really like this team as a stack. Riley at 4.4K, 304 ISO versus lefties. Contreras, he's expensive, but maybe that brings his ownership down. 5.3K, 545 ISO versus lefties there. So pretty outstanding. Swanson probably going to be hitting in the 2-hole, 4.2K, 243 ISO versus lefties. Albies, Olsen is too cheap. Duvall has been struggling, but at 2.6K, going against his former team, I like him in this spot. So looks like Acuna is going to probably sit this game. So yeah, I do like the Braves here quite a bit. Next, we have the Royals and the Twins, 8.5 over under. Twins are favorited here at home. I don't really love this game in general. We'll go through this real quick. Keller taking on Ober. Keller 7K, just a ground ball pitcher. Ober on the other side, near 20% strikeout rate here. Struggles versus left-handed batters. That kind of puts Benintendi in play for me at 3.9K. Other than that, Twins bats, they're pricey. There's just other spots I want to get to. Both pitchers aren't really pitchers I really want to attack, especially on a big slate. So probably just going to fade this one. Next, we have the Brewers taking on the Cardinals. Brewers favorited here, 7 over under, so low total there. Woodruff taking on Hudson. Woodruff, a 9.8K. Just a tough matchup for him. He is struggling against right-handed batters pretty bad, which is interesting and you might want to exploit it, but 29% strikeout rate here. Just the Cardinals don't strike out a lot, so not a matchup I like for him. Hudson on the other side, 5.4K. He is cheap. He just doesn't have strikeout upside. 13% strikeout rate here, 11% walk rate. 57.8% ground ball rate. So just a guy I don't really want to attack. Good against left-handed batters, and the Brewers will roll out a bunch of lefties. So if you're going to take anyone, I don't mind taking a shot on Taylor. He's pretty cheap, 2.6K, good matchup, home run upside there. Cardinals bats, I think, somewhat in play here. I think they'll be low owned. Goldschmidt had another big game yesterday, 5.5K. Arenado at 5.2. Yepez at 4.4K. I don't mind him. Don't mind this is a 3-man stack. They're just kind of pricey here. So decent matchup. But Woodruff, not really a guy I want to attack anyway. So probably going to fade this one. Next, we have the Blue Jays taking on the Angels, 8 over under here. Blue Jays are favorited here. Manoah taking on Silseth. Manoah, 10.2K. Prices up there. Only a 22% strikeout rate here for a 10K pitcher. He is crushing this season. I think the matchup will be a little bit tougher for him. I'm sure he'll get some ownership. On the other side, Silseth, 7.9K. I don't love the price there. 23% strikeout rate, which is quite nice. The walks are a little high at 9.3%. And he's a near 54% ground ball pitcher. So not really a guy I want to attack, but Blue Jays have been struggling. And I think you can go there. I think you can always go there, but they've had a really tough time this season. Springer and Vlad, who I mentioned yesterday, both had good games. So they're very much both in play here against the left-handed pitcher. But yeah, I think, Silseth in general struggles against left-handed batters, and the Blue Jays are probably going to roll out 8 righties here. So I don't really love the lineup here, but I get the play. And then on the Angels side, Walsh, Trout, Ohtani. Those are the main 3. I don't love the matchup. I like Walsh the best because of his price and his success against right-handed pitching this season. Next, we have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. 10 over under here. Dodgers favorited. Pipiet versus Bumgarner. Pipiet 9.9K. Don't really like that price at all. I don't really understand it. I think it's just a goof. So hard pass on that. I will note that he is walking a lot of guys this season, 24% walk rate, which, isn't sustainable, but it's there. So, and then on the other side, Bumgarner, 6.4K going against the Dodgers. Definitely not going to go there. Both sides, I think, very much in play. Dodgers, I think you can play them every night. Freeman had a huge game yesterday. Taylor, Betts, Smith are my favorite 4 right there. On the other side, Diamondbacks, they profile well here. They look really good. I don't know how far Pipiet is going to go. But Rojas at 4.4, he's back. Varsho, expensive, but projects well here. Walker, Peralta, Smith, Thomas, I think they're all in play. I think they're going to be low owned. There's some clear paths, I think, on this 13 gamer. So they might be kind of sneaky here. You can get them at a low ownership, maybe 3-man stack. Next, we have the Astros and the Mariners, 7.5 over under. Astros favorited here. Verlander, probably the best pitcher on the slate, taking on Flexen. Verlander at 10.5K. I think that's very reasonable. 26% strikeout rate here. He is just a stud. Do not overthink that. Flexen on the other side, 5.3K. Just not a matchup. I want to be taking Flexen in against the Astros. He's struggling against right-handed batters. Just the Astros can flat out hit, and Alvarez, 5K is my favorite bat, maybe on the slate. 416 ISO against right-handed pitching. Tucker, Pena, Altuve, Bregman, you can make that stack work. It's a great spot here for the Astros. And then I'm just completely off the Mariners bats in that one. Pirates and the Padres, 7 over under here, kind of an ugly low total. Quintana taking on Manaya. Quintana, quite a surprise, kind of digging into his stats. 8.3K, so that price stinks. Pitching well, but yeah, I can't get down on that price on a 13 game slate. Manaya on the other side at 10K. He's going to be pretty popular here. Pirates aren't as bad as people think. 27% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate. He is in play for sure, but does he really have the ceiling? He hasn't really shown it this year. Bats kind of pricey. Don't love the matchup for them. So you can go either way there, but probably will be playing some Manaya. Given that he is at home, the low over under, et cetera, et cetera. Machado, my favorite bat in this game at 5.1K, 452 ISO against lefties. Playable tonight, but I will probably be looking at other spots. So maybe I just fade this one. We'll see. And last but not least, we have the Rangers taking on the A's, 7 over under here. You have Gray taking on Irvin. Gray at 5.5K. I think that's just a bit of a misprice. 23% strikeout rate here, 8.4% walk rate. Struggles a little bit more to left-handed batters. So I do like Seth Brown on the other side for the A's at 3K, but that price is just too cheap, 5.5K. He doesn't really have to go out there and light it up. But I think he's a very serviceable pitcher in a very good matchup and a very good ballpark. I am in on the Rangers bats tonight. Seager at 4.5K. I think he's cheap. Garver, really like him at 3.8K if he's starting. 375 ISO against lefties. Calhoun at 3K. He's just too cheap for his upside. And then Heim, 3.5K. 348 ISO versus lefties. So that'll do it. I hope this helps you. My name is Tim. Don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel just to see if I will be putting out certain videos. You can find me on Twitter at Tim Williams DFS, and that'll do it. Good luck. Cheers.